now. Great. So welcome everyone again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending from which part of the world are you joining us today. We know that some of you anticipate some problems joining us, request for password or something like that. So we hope that other colleagues will be able to join us in the meantime. But we want to respect time of all of you that come here. So we will start, and it will be my pleasure to start the short presentation. But before we officially start the presentation, since we are all in these quite difficult times, a lot of terrible things are happening all over the world, which I'm sure all of us are involved in this or that way and aware of what is going on. So I would like to invite all of us just for the moment of silence to think about all these people, to send our prayers and positive energy for the peace to come as soon as possible. And then after the moment of silence, we will continue with the presentation and introduction about this resilience series. Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, may peace prevail on earth. I also want to invite all of you, since this is community call, and I would like for you to make some contacts, to meet other people on the call, not just those who will be presenting something, but also each of you who will be participating. So we want to invite you to use chat option to either introduce yourself, share where are you coming from, how are you affiliated or not affiliated with URI, it really doesn't matter. And yeah, you can share how are you feeling today, what are your thoughts. And now we will just start with this very short presentation. As I said, it will be just few information that we would like to share with you before we start our journey with our dear colleagues who will be presenting us. So I hope that you will be able to see the slideshow. So welcome to the Resilience series. And we already took a moment for the soul or moment of the silence, and thank you for joining me in this moment. So as you already know, this Resilience series, an invitation to join this series come from the United Religion Initiative, and this is collaboration project between United Religion Initiative Multi-Region and United Religion Initiative Europe. I know that majority of you are affiliated with URI, so you already know who we are and what we are standing for. But in case that some of you are completely new to this organization and joining us for the first time, United Religion Initiative is a huge, one of the biggest grassroots level interfaith movement in the world. We have 8 regions and we are present everywhere in the world in more than 110 countries, and we have more than 1,200 cooperation circles, or the groups of the people who are coming together. Beside that, we have more than 1,000 individual members who are joining us and bunch of partner organizations. So in these 8 regions, they are United Religion Initiative Multi-Region, presented by Samira, and URI Europe, presented by myself. As I want to introduce myself, I'm Leila, coming from Europe, currently based in Turkey, but coming from Bosnia, and I will be presenting URI Europe as a CC liaison officer today on this call, but I'm also individual membership coordinator and responsible for these 1,000+ individual members who are part of our family. So United Religion Initiative, as I said, is a one of the biggest grassroots level interfaith movement currently in the world, and we are really proud that we are part of it and that we are able to deliver some of the programs to you. And as you probably know, in our mission and vision and purpose statement, we are working a lot for enduring daily interfaith cooperation. We are focusing on ending religiously motivated violence, and lastly, we are working towards more peace, justice, and healing in this world. So we hope that this series can contribute to our purpose as well. So what is this series about and how we come up to this idea? All of this started last year when we were thinking that after the COVID time and a lot of people struggling with their mental health issues, and working remotely in our community, we were talking that resilience as a concept is really important, and we start exploring it to our personal peace practices. And when we figure out that it works very well, people were quite interested to join in this kind of the conversation. We discovered that this year it will be great to introduce something that we call Resilience Series. Why we decide to call it Resilience Series is that it's a series of 4 consecutive events, and you are attending third one. So first we have community call, in which we explore the concept of the resilience, what being resilient mean to us and how we understand resilience, what are resilience in the context of URI community. Then in a second workshop that happened last month, we will exploring the concept of individual resilience, learning some of the tips and tricks, how we can improve our individual resilience. And today on this community call, we will be focusing more on the community resilience. And to end up this year of the great events around topic of resilience, we are working on our publication. And I would like to ask Samira to share in the chat more information about how all of you can get involved and contribute to the publication. Publication will be basically a toolkit around topic of resilience, in which each of you can contribute with different articles, photos, positive practices about resilience, because we don't want to make it as academic publication exploring concept of resilience, but we would like also to use your positive practices from the grassroots level work. And therefore you have deadline till the end of this month, and we hope that a lot of you will contribute in different ways in this publication. So this is the fourth step, and we hope that this will be just the beginning, that in the end of this year or beginning of the next year, we will be able to introduce this publication, to use it as a tool, and that we will continue exploring concept of resilience through the next year and continuing this series with the set of the workshop, community schools, even face-to-face, hopefully gathering, and that URI can contribute to the concept of resilience, especially when it comes through the understanding of using interfaith work and religion as a tool how we can enhance more resilience in our life. So today's focus will be on community resilience and how we define and how we focus on resilience as it is. There is a lot of let's say definition of the resilience, but we are focusing on something that is presented over here, that resilience usually refers to the ability of individuals, communities, but also systems to adapt, bounce back, and thrive in the face of adversity, challenges, or significant changes that unfortunately we are all currently facing in the world right now. And it involves the capacity to withstand, recover, and grow stronger from difficult experiences, setbacks of crisis. But when it comes to the community resilience, it is especially important in URI works, because it is as a community we are coming together and we are working towards the building more resilience community when it comes to the more peace, justice, and especially part of the healing. And community resilience refers to the ability of groups of people to respond to and recover from adverse situations such as natural disasters, acts of violence that we are currently witnessing, economic hardships, and other challenges that affect the group as a whole. And therefore, we today invited a group of our friends to discuss in this community call about community resilience. What are their positive practices? What is their understanding of resilience, and what we can learn from each of you? So now we are moving to the second part of this of today's community call. So I want to give floor to Samira to introduce our great speaker, which will be sharing more about community resilience in their context, what does it mean for them, and they will be sharing some positive practices around topic of community resilience. And then we would like to invite all of you to share your experiences, potential question to some of the things, and just to start this discussion that maybe then continue later on in our conversation via email, WhatsApp, or in chat. So thank you, Samira.
Thanks, Leila, for this great introduction and giving us the background of how this particular community call came about and why we are continuously building these opportunities for connection with other cooperation circles in URI in order to talk about resilience and to hopefully build our individual resilience, as we spoke about last month, or work on the community resilience. And today, our panel was supposed to have 5 people, but unfortunately 2 people are struggling connecting with us today. So our conversation will be a friendly chat about first learning more about CC's initiatives in the grassroots, and then learning more about our individual commitment and our connection to resilience. Hopefully, at the end of the call, all of us will leave with a newly gained inspiration or refreshed inspiration to think about resilience of our communities and design projects and join projects that contribute to building resilience everywhere around us. So today I'm joined by Irene from Arizona Interfaith Network from the US, Henry Morris Muhindo from Uganda, and by Arnau Oliveres from Catalonia, Barcelona. And I'm delighted to be able to help us facilitate this conversation. And I did not want to read biographies, but rather I would like to give a few minutes to each of you to introduce yourselves to our audience. And I'd like to start from Irene. So please give us a brief introduction of who you are and what you do and where do you come from.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me on. My name is Irene Rushadan, and I am with the Arizona Faith Network. I am a registered nurse. I've been a registered nurse for over 30 years. I'm not going to tell you the exact years that is, but just been over 30. And I love working in the community. I worked from med-surg to inpatient psychiatric or psychiatry unit, where I did utilization review and case management. And I've been with Arizona Faith Network since 2021, where we were asked to come on and help with the heat resilience because of many facilities were shutting down because of the COVID-19. And so we had to reach out to the faith communities because they were still open and to help with the heat relief efforts. And I just love uplifting, upbuilding the community and helping them be resilient. So thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you for coming. I look forward to hearing more about the projects that you have. I know I've been amazed for years now since I've learned first from our colleague Vasu about the amazing work that AFN does, and how you actually have transformed a desire of the community to be more resilient towards heat and what's happening around them into action, and how you are relieving that in their lives. So thank you for being here. I look forward to hearing more later. Henry, would you like to go next?
Okay, thank you so much, Samira, and all the other participants. I'm Muhindo Morris Henry, and from Uganda. I work as a programs director for Renzori. The foundation is basically accessible, the foundation of Renzori Abductees and Returnees Organization, which is a group that has over 1,000 members who are all ex-combatants that are survivors, the ADF, the Allied Democratic rebels that have disturbed the Great Lakes region, especially Uganda and DRC. I was abducted at the age of 13, and I was planning to become a priest, which desire vanished away upon spending 13 years in captivity, where we are forced into Islam, and I only returned when I was 26. At the age of now 26, I had to accept, swallow my pride, and go back to a senior one. Swallow my pride, really, like, very resilient, because I thought it was the only way I could face the current world. And Baluk Moses will be sharing more. He is my director, and I was abducted along with him, same age at 13, and he escaped from the rebellion before I did. And on my return, he told me from my senior one to my senior 6. And after my senior 6, I enrolled at the bachelor's in law. And upon graduation, we had already started an organization with Moses, which was foster and enhance resilience in the ex-combatants that we are so many in the Rwenzori region. that is so vast from Uganda to the DR Congo. And we have a multifaceted layer of activities enhanced towards building resilient communities around us. Host a radio talk show both in Uganda and DR Congo, where we bring ex-combatants to share their stories such that it counters the continued stigmatization where people label us as rebels, as killers, despite the fact that that's the wrong label. We were forced to get into a war that we are not part of. And we have extensive community dialogues where we meet ex-combatants and community members to offer counseling sessions and offer ourselves as examples on how to live positively and face life positively despite the hardships we've had endure. But also, we help the most vulnerable with startup capital and run livelihood projects, which are also meant to support the resilience series that we carry out in communities, among so many other activities that we shall be sharing because of the interest of time. And we still, every year, every 16th of August, we commemorate the Abduction Day. And we gather all the members, 1,700 more members that gather annually at a monument that we have erected at the abduction site where we are abducted from, where members come and light candles for the victims that have died. We were 21, we only returned 11, the 10 died in captivity with one being butchered the very day we reached the camp of the rebels. Then the others went on dying in different occasions.
Thanks, Henry. It is heartbreaking to hear your personal story and the story of the people that you work alongside now with, trying to transform that very painful experience into activities that build up the community, to prevent that from happening again, but also to learn that, to use that valuable and fortunate experience into a lesson for everyone. And I look forward to later hearing more about specific activities that you do in the grassroots, and how you do those constructive dialogues. How does that look like? And I'm so grateful that you're with us today. And now I will go to someone who's geographically very close to me, Arnau, who lives close to Barcelona. And I would like to hear from you. Give us a brief introduction of who you are, what you do with your CC.
Hi, Samira. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to share with people from all over the world in this very interesting topic. I think resilience has to see with that, with sharing and doing things together. So I think we are exactly doing that in that moment. Our CC is in Barcelona. We are AUDIR. That's a non-denominational organization, but that brings together people from various religious traditions. So I think after the presentation, we will talk about our projects related to the resilience. And so we are working, creating spaces from interfaith dialogue, freedom of belief, and conscience and cooperation, always with the perspective of the culture of peace and dialogue.
Thank you, Arnau. Lovely to hear from you, and thank you for coming with to spend this afternoon with us. After these introductions, I would like to go back and ask all of you to tell us a little bit about the projects that your CCs started working on with the intention of increasing communities' resilience and working towards that resilience that we need in order to fight the challenges that we have. And Irene, I'd like to go back to you, as you were the first one to introduce yourself. I would like to give you the mic first for this question again, and see and hear briefly about the project, and to bring it sort of closer to our audience, if you could try to illustrate the process of how it was before you started working on that project and how your community looks like now when there are projects that build community resilience.
Okay, well, Arizona Faith Network operates on two different areas, and one is theological dialogue and social justice. And you can imagine everything in the gamut within the community can fit within that. So since 2021, when we were asked to do the heat relief projects, when we first came on board, there was no organized way to do it. And so when we came on board and I did an observation, so after that, we were able to build and actually start having a guideline and leading ways and getting more community involvement. And what it's turned into over the years, where we just had a few centers and not many people knowing about the heat-related deaths that's been happening in Arizona. So a lot of people were not aware of it. I was not aware of it until I got involved. And once I got involved, because I am very much so a community advocate, when I got involved, I just started going into action. And that's something what we do. We go out into the community, get the feedback from the community, because we know with resilience, it has to be acceptable to the community, adaptable to the needs of the community, and also things need to be accessible. So those are the three things that we must have in order for resilience to actually work. We look at it and we can come up with ideas coming from where we are in our mindsets. We can say what resilience look like to us, but it needs to be acceptable by the community. And Arizona Faith Network is a boots on the ground type of organization where we do go out into the community, get the feedback, mingle with the members in the community, because they are part of our community, our big faith community, and that's what we do. So it looks different now. We've had more people with the press and getting more people involved in heat relief when we focus on that, as well as the social justice aspect. And of course, we are an interfaith organization, so we do have that involvement and more people coming on every year. We have more members in different faiths coming on.
That sounds amazing. And just as a follow-up question, so if you had to explain the activities to our participants, how does one activity that you would define as acceptable for the community that increases their resilience, how does one activity look like?
Well, one activity, if we go with just for example, as I am the community program manager for the heat relief, with that one, we get members involved in the community. We either through volunteerism or also we have resilience, where some of the community members who need shelter, they also come on board as staff members. We also involve and have people as our team members that are coming back from incarcerations. So that's helping them become more resilient community members, where they're able to have independence and pay for their housing. They're able to pay for their schooling, and it makes them feel better mentally. So we also, the things that we do help people with mental resilience. We help them with financial resilience and just community organization resilience. So we help in different areas, and we're not just out there doing a service. We're servicing and providing a service to help people in every realm of resilience.
Sounds really great. If only I was closer to Arizona to be able to like physically experience your community coming together and doing all of these activities and being able to be a part of that. It sounds absolutely wonderful. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome to visit. We did have someone come from China to visit to see what we were doing with our heat relief program, and some of the people are using our model. And also we did the guidebook, because that's what I discovered, that we needed some organization to the whole heat relief. And so we started the guidebook, and each year we improve on it. from what we learned, we have a meeting at the end and where we talk about what went well, what didn't go well. So we improve the book every year. And that is something that we have to do, and we're pioneered that.
That sounds so important, and what we wish for our community here on the call today is to be inspired by these projects and then figure out ways of how they can do similar things that would respond to the need in their community. And please feel free to share the link to the guidebook in the chat box if electronic version of that exists. That would be awesome. Thank you. I'll go back to Irene a bit later to ask her more questions about the amazing work that they do. But now I will go to Arnau and ask him a question about the work of his CC. Recently, I had a chance to meet Arnau in person during a URI Europe assembly, and I've heard a lot about activities that bring people of different faiths together with the intention of them getting to know each other. And then as I heard more about it, I thought this is a brilliant way to increase the resilience of the community to problems that a lot of European countries are facing. And that is sort of a position towards people that are different. So Arnau, could you please tell us a bit about the projects that you together with Audir, which is your CC, do?
Exactly. One of the projects we are doing now, this autumn, we did that 1 month ago in Barcelona. Next week we are doing that in another city, which smaller town, a small city called Sant Cugat. We are actually doing that in 4 cities. It's the Night of the Religions. I have here this project. So the Night of the Religions is a day or also a night, also maybe a whole weekend, where we invite all the religious community from this city or from these regions to carry out activities or conferences, concerts, workshops, or roundtables or something that can be representative from their tradition. So the important is that different communities know each other and can trespass the borders in between people, because people from different beliefs are also people from different origins who speak different languages, and that we are breaking these borders to make people not together, because everyone can do his activity in his own place. I mean, people can go visit the different traditions, and the good thing is that every year more communities want to be part of that. In the beginning, some communities did not agree in what we were doing because they didn't understand. Some people say we are mixing the religions or something, or creating a new religion, also something like that. But after 2-3 years, the communities can see that gives them visibility, normalization, and it's important to know each other and to make spaces like that. That was not our idea. We took that idea from Berlin, and this project is also real in other places. I think in Bern, in Switzerland, and other cities, other organizations are doing that. And the fact it's only that, to invite the different communities of all religions, also spiritual ways or paths, to share them, they practice, they experience, they places to other people, but at the same time, at the same moment. In Barcelona, we have the night of the museums, for example. So in one afternoon or until 11 o'clock at night, you can go for free to all the museums. And one night, every year you can do that. And our project goes on that. During one day, the doors are open for people who normally does not go to that kind of places. And I think it's important to share that experience, because it's interesting to and I think everywhere you can reproduce that.
I loved what you said. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. I love that what you said, that this was not originally your idea, but that you saw this idea somewhere else and adapted it to your own community. And I guess this is what we desire for people to do after this call and after learning more about different cooperation circles, to see a great idea and think of ways how to implement these different ways into our own communities and improve our resilience. And I'm wondering now, since you said that you started this a few years ago, what is the impact that you've noticed? What's the difference between the first time you did the Night of the Religions and the last one that you did? Is there a change that you're noticing?
Yes, we are still in process, but the process is positive because we see that religious communities live in parallel, isolated from each other, and for that it's rich to know each other. So most times we see that everyone who is in one community, in one religious community, they have their own way of life, their own spiritual way. So maybe they think it's not necessary to share it with other people, with other communities, and other people which is not spiritually interested in the city. But for that is important to make religious traditions known, because they know that other religions are also rich, and it's important to offering meeting spaces so they can increase and motivate to do. They see that other people is doing similar things. So I think the most interesting thing is the communities that in the beginning were not interested in participate because they were isolated and they were interested in or it was difficult for them to participate. They understand that participating in that is helpful for this and give them visibility and normalization, and to have a normalization in the freedom of conscience. It's important to see that there are different beliefs and they are all equal rights. So it's important to be also together defending that. So it goes more than only your conviction or all in your faith and sharing that. It's also be part of a community with different beliefs. So that's the point. In the beginning, you have to understand that you are participating to a social movement which has to see with people who sees the world very different from you. You have your point of view, but I think that's resilience, and that's the topic we are saying. Resilience. The point is that every point of view is authentic, but also it's limited. So every person has an authentic point of view, an authentic conscience of what's happening, but also limiting. So sharing with other people, the key is to break the limits, to increase the limits, but also not to lose this authentic sense you have. So sharing with other communities, you can see that other communities have other point of view. So you can open your mind, you can open your point of view, but also the interesting thing is not to lose what's authentic on your point of view, because when you share, maybe you think, oh, my limits will increase, but also I will lose what's authentic in my tradition or in my point of view or in my faith. So I think it's important to broke the limits, but not to lose what's authentic on it. That's the ambivalence of the point of that. A lot of people is. I remember one example in Tarragona, a small city, 100 kilometers south from Barcelona. We went to the mosque and asked, and talking about that, they had fear from the other people because in Spain, people has no religion, they don't have nothing sacred, nothing is sacred for them, and we were not to be like them. we are going to lose our tradition. And I ask, oh, what's important for you? What do you don't want to lose? And they say, no, our family is important, our older people in our family, the children, the education is important. And then after that, we go to the other part, we go to see the neighbors and ask, what's the problem with the mosque? Why you don't like to have that mosque in your street? Oh, because they don't have values and they don't adapt to our community, they don't speak our language, they don't integrate in our culture. And I ask, well, what's important in your culture? And they say, oh, the family is important, to bring together older people, and education is important, and peace. And in fact, you could see that the values, peace, respect, solidarity, to have a job, to have health, all the values were the same in both sides. But once were the neighbors of the right and extreme right politic field, but they had also these values. And in the mosque they also, but they don't bring together. So if you can organize the doors of the mosque are really always open. But if you organize one activity for the neighbors, extra for them, special for them, that they will come. If you don't do that extra effort for them, they have fear to go there. It's an invisible border, an invisible barrier, and they cannot cross it. So it's important to organize that kind of things. And we are in the Audir CC, we have a good position because we are not a religious organization. We are also not a political organization, but we work together with the community. So everyone can see that we are not, we have not our agenda. We are working for that space together will be the most friendly possible, because we are different people living in the same cities, but we can do it well or we can do it wrong. We can go together, know each other, or we can have conflict. So it's important to prevent conflict. So many conflicts. So it's important to prevent them and organize that kind of activities or projects or all that.
Thank you, Arnaud, very much. I love how much this is resonating with people, and people are sharing messages in the chat box. And I strongly believe the more that we know people who are surrounding us, their traditions, their backgrounds, the values that they follow, the less likely we are to have a conflict that needs further to be then transformed and thought about. It's a lot easier to make people fight or argue if they don't know each other. It's a whole lot more difficult to get people fighting if they truly understand the values that stand behind. And I think that what you do is a great are the great grounds for setting up community really to succeed, because you build that resilience from day one of understanding each other's values and being able to live together and to work together. So thank you very much for being with us. And I do know that soon you will have to leave the call. So in case you're still here when we ask another round of questions, I'm sure that our participants would love to hear more from you. But we already heard an encouragement from Arnaud to do something like this in our own communities and to experiment with different models that exist. So thank you very much. And now I'd like to go to Henry and hear more about the activities. And in your introduction, Henry, you spoke about constructive dialogue that you want to have with members of communities. And you mentioned other activities as well. Could you paint us a picture of how those activities look like, and sort of what's the impact that you make in your particular community with those activities?
Thank you so much, Samira. Yeah, for the community dialogues, if I can be specific in what we started with, they are structured in a nature that is all encompassing, where We host these at different levels, at grassroots, at village level, at sub-county level, at parish level, and then at the district level. These are local levels at the local government they are in Uganda, where we host them based on members and then the leaders. We get a few community members that are influential, and then from the different age groups participate in these community dialogues that are open discussions, and we host leaders, persons, representatives of the persons with disabilities, religious leaders from all religions in the area. Then we have the elderly, representatives of the elderly, members of the community that we feel are the most senior that we can learn from. And then we have the political leaders amongst those that we host. And during the deliberations, we give ourselves as examples of what we've gone through, the dangers of war, and how we have to be resilient to face the negative stigma that is attached to having participated in rebellion or having adopted the foreign religion or culture, because a majority of the members that were abducted, or even those that were lured into joining rebellion, have returned. When they were Muslims, they returned when they are no longer Muslims. They were non-Muslims, they returned when they are Muslims. They had no kids, they returned with kids that become a burden, are seen as a burden to some of the families where they are. And the communities tend to push back. So in these community dialogues, we emphasize harmony, people being peace lovers, and showing people that regardless of our differences, what unites us is more than that which divides us. So in these community dialogues, we've enabled the members to have that required resilience in the communities. They can stand against members that want to push them around and bully them because of their past experiences, but also making the communities welcoming ex-combatants, because even as we speak, there is still an active, ongoing war in Kasese, the region where I work, and in the DRC. So we are having refugees, we are having returnees, we are having people being brought as POWs or prisoners of war that we later help in reintegrating back into society, but you don't reintegrate a broken person into society whose mental health or psychology is not up to what community resonates with. So we have to take them through a series of resilience sessions where we bring on board professional counselors that talk to them, the religious leaders of the different denominations to which they subscribe to, as one of the measures that we are doing. And we not only do this in the areas where we come from, we have a memorandum, different memorandum. One of them is the URI that is based in Kampala, that we have been having exchange programs in community dialogues where we go and speak to members that come from in the eastern region, while they are members from the western region. Members learn more each other on how they have coped with the hardships we had to endure during the different times in the different periods where we've been as either ex-combatants or people that look back voluntarily, but at a later stage applied for amnesty that was granted by the government. And that is only one way of the community dialogues. The other way of the community dialogues, we host the Interreligious Council that we have in Uganda, in our area, and have created an elders forum from the different cultural dichotomies that we have, because we are not predominantly one tribe. So we are so many tribes around the region that is affected by the ongoing war by the ADF Islamic State. And we host these to come and speak the young, the ex-combatants and community members in these community dialogues. We even use gathering days on Fridays in mosques and Sundays, Saturdays in the different nations to go and have sessions with the congregations to talk about resilience. How do we face life amid the hardships? How do we move on? How do we accommodate each other? And how do we face life more positively in an accommodative manner where we don't at each other as enemies, but rather as allies and friends. And the other issue we've tried to handle so extensively is we put all our stories into a book that is shared freely with the communities, where we share our experiences. Those that spent 10, 20 years in abduction, 1 day, 2 days, really doesn't matter, because it doesn't really matter the time we spend at the hands of aggressors, at the hands of the most heinous men and women that the world has ever seen, committing the most heinous atrocities. So the trauma that people come out with is really great, and there is a lot of psychological needs that are required for us to keep and have very resilient communities around us, because the more we don't talk about the causes of this, both push and pull factors, we shall always have suffer or face and address not the causes, but I think maybe. Sorry.
Sorry, someone accidentally unmuted themselves. Go ahead, Henry.
Okay, and then in the book we give our insights on how we think the world can live more positively with each other in this world. We've also gone ahead to erect a monument at the abduction site, where we gather annually, light candles in memory of all the people that have died, not only from that abduction site, the seminary from where I was abducted, but across the entire Uganda, specifically the Rwenzori region where the ADF has disturbed, the Rwenzururu movement and the National Army for the Liberation of Uganda that has destabilized the place. So these couldn't work and give us the required results. We had to also dig into a different avenue, which was the radio programming, being the most listened to or used media of communication in the area. So we chose 2 radios, the FM radio in Uganda called Kasese Guide Radio, which is Catholic based, where we host religious leaders, moderate sheikhs, and experts, counselors to come and talk about resilience, talk about war, the dangers of war, and how to overcome the post effects of war. And then we didn't want this to take place on the Ugandan side. We also look for a radio that is across the DRC, where the ADF is still butchering people and verifying the region. So we have also the sessions on Gravel FM, which is based in Beni, where we host these resilience series, and it's twice every month, and it has been running now for about 5 years, and the results are enormous, because we hear that having mindset change, people not to engage in subversive activities and always thinking about fighting to solve our problems, but thinking about solving our problems more amicably through dialogue and peaceful means, as one way that we are trying to enhance resilience within communities, because ex-combatants speak about the stigma that they face within communities, and the more they have sensitized the communities, the more they have been well received and live well in the societies where we live. And this is not all we've been doing. We brought also on board livelihood projects, because talking without action is just comedy. So we looked at this and started the Figures project, where we share piglets to non-Muslims, and they share them in a continuous manner. When it has 10 piglets, you retain the 5, and then the 5 are passed on to the next beneficiaries, and it evolves that way. Try to help the members that have returned and are vulnerable or susceptible to returning back into subversive activities or rebellion. And then for the Muslims and even the non-Muslims based on capacity, we arm them with vocational skills, bricklaying, we have tailoring projects, and the money that we gather from the bricklaying, we've been paying school fees. Last year, we are paying school fees for 48 students, among them 3 at the university, and one of them who was the most touching to us was a daughter whose dad was butchered the day we arrived in the bush upon abduction. So all these have been, we've been doing all these activities, trying to enhance resilience of our communities in doing different activities. We've also organized cross-generational meetings where we bring the young to mingle with the old, you know, because there is a certain divide that has come up of late based on technology, the young going more digital and the old remaining more analog. So we are trying to bridge that gap by bringing this series of resilience where the old share with the young and the young share their experiences and expectations to people that should be mentoring us in all we are doing. But to sum it all, maybe we shall be going on adding so many other things that we are doing. We have the soap making projects and the motorcycles that we buy in a shared proportion with the beneficiaries such that they can own the projects, because anything given to you, really, you think it is, you easily spoil it. So we pay 70% of the motorcycle, which is about 5 million in Uganda shillings, roughly maybe $1,500 US, and then we leave the beneficiary top up the 250 or 300 in installments, such that at the end of the payment, they give them the card of the motorcycle, which they use for either Uber, Taxify, Safe Border, transporting people, and money for their, to earn a living and means of employment. So we are very grateful that we are learning other experiences from great members, and we're hearing great ideas for the very first time that we wish to also borrow and start here having a very broken society around us. Thank you so much. I wish we shall be adding on or bringing in more questions as I clarify.
Thank you, Henry, so much. And I've heard so many inspirational points in what you shared. I can relate to like using the experience that is painful as a learning tool for the future generations, and the way that you're nurturing the culture of remembrance, but also transforming that into a tool for building community resilience is truly remarkable, because I think it tells me a lot about your community, that you were able to do that despite what you faced. And just a quick follow-up question to you. When you do all of these activities in your community, because based on my experience in interfaith grassroots peace building, people don't always respond in the best possible way to these ideas, and being exposed to other people and working together and collaborating. What has been your experience in what has been the experience of your community, and how responsive were they to the activities that you were putting forward for them? How does
I think yes, please go on with the question.
I asked, how does community react to what you're doing?
Yeah, I think it has been very, very encouraging that at the beginning, because we started this organization and these projects 2011 up to now, and it was based on membership. We are just 10 members, 10 founding members that survived, 11 members that survived, but one has been so busy and the 10 are the only ones that are active. So we've been putting in a pool money that we use for all these activities, generated from monthly savings from each member, the 10 founding members, and we injected in these small projects that we keep on monitoring for them to grow, and the communities being the beneficiaries of these projects, and the projects being in the very communities that we support, has been a very big positive on our side, because they have embraced them, and the people that we are supporting are the very us. It is either our sons, our daughters, our mothers, our grandparents, our religious leaders, and it's within the community, being supported by community members that they know. This has made it more open, and they have received it with more open hands and try to support in that of late we are having so many people invested in supporting our projects, because in the beginning they thought it was a job that would end maybe somewhere, and all they have seen is a very positive change that during the Singabaru and Zulu, if you heard about it, when King Mumbere Weasley, the king of the Bakonzo, was arrested and the palace was attacked, amongst the over 2,000 members that we have as ex-combatants that would have been the primary people that would have taken arms, not one took part in that insurrection, kept peace, spread the message of peace, and emphasized that we maintain and honor the amnesty that was extended to each one of us by the government, showing how the communities had built the resilience, and they were foreign forces that came into the palace of the area that destabilized the equilibrium that we had set along the so many years, and majority of those that passed or were killed in the palace were people that had come from further than our very areas. This was exemplifying how people were appreciating, but also on the radio talk show we have created somewhere we report members that call and what they say to assess our progress and whether we are progressing on well. And it is very touching that members calling are all positive, showing how they were very negative at the start and how their mindsets have changed, how they are becoming more accommodative to the different members that have returned into society, whether they share the same religion or they don't, whether they share the same culture or they don't. So there is a positive mindset change that have created in the society. The political class was very rejected at the start with the security, thinking this is an area that is a preserve for security only, not community-based organizations or NGOs. But now we are having a regional platform, we are having a country policy that has been adopted by Parliament that is soon passing into law, the transitional justice policy, which we have a very big say with through RI. So these are things that really encourage us that we manage to touch the lives and hearts of so many people, not only at grassroots level, but at regional level and country level, to the level that we are now soon having a legislation that will cater for all these resilience series in the transitional justice policy.
And that certainly sounds, thank you very much for sharing that. That certainly sounds like a big circle, a full circle of activities of starting something as a grassroots, then building up that as resilience. As a result of that resilience that the community has built through your programs and other programs, you've managed to go to the legislative level to fortify that need for transitional justice and support for the grassroots. So thank you, Henry, very much for sharing all of that. And in case the book that you mentioned in your presentation is available in electronic version, please do share it with us. I would I would love to see that and hear the stories of people that have gone through experiences similar to yours and who are managing to transform that experience. So thank you very much. And a question for Irene and Henry as a closing one for our session today is, so understanding the need of your community seems to be the starting point for both of you. What would be your suggestion, or what would be the strategy that you would suggest to others in other communities as a starting point when examining projects that could be beneficial for community resilience? So what would be your suggestion as how to start? What is the starting point? What's the initial inspiration? And Irene, you spoke about going to the community and seeing if this is an appropriate response. So what would you say to this?
Well, one of the things was when Reverend Katie Sexton had first started out, we did not have the number of employees that we had. And I was, as a community members, I came to one of the social cafes that they had where we got to meet people from different religious organizations and other organizations. Each person explained or gave some information about their religious background. And just like, for example, I never had heard of the Baha'i religion, and I got some information that day and was inspired to study more into that. But just meeting at the table, and that's one of the things that I liked about Arizona Faith Network, is that they start from the ground and they're boots on the ground organization. And so they get out there in the community, and we've grown exponentially just from going out there, meeting people in the community. Like I was saying before, we didn't have what we have now as far as the employees. Now we have people that are doing community organization, that are program managers. We have a social justice program manager. We have an interfaith program manager. We have the Southern Arizona community organizer, indigenous communities organizer, voting rights organizer, and then myself as the community resilience program manager. So we, in response to what was needed in the community, what was acceptable, we've been able to adapt to the needs of the community. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out where members can sign on, and as we go out and meet people in the community, we have them sign up for the newsletter, so they get that. So we stay engaged within the community. We do advertisement. The local government and the entire state government has seen the different things that we're putting out there as far as the resilience for housing, resilience for heat, and those different things, the voting rights. So we're out there in the community and reaching people, and people are reaching in. And that's what's important. And as we are team members, we get together and we meet and we share, we help each other, and we continue to build. And that's one of the things that I think others can learn from what we're doing, from this model that we have. We stay engaged. We engage with each other, communicate with each other, have mutual respect. Even though we're all coming from different religious backgrounds, we have that mutual respect, and we meet on a common ground. A lot of times people focus too much on their differences. We focus on what's needed in our community, because it's our community and it's made up of different community members. So that for me is something that people can adapt to.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And starting from your own team and making sure that your own team is well respected, well adjusted, and being able to do their work sounds like a great starting point. And actually having, because from what I was able to understand, all of you come from that community locally, and so you understand what are the needs of this community, and then work through a specific lens, as you said, voting, engagement, or interfaith engagement, or resilience engagement. So that really sounds like a good plan to start with. So thank you, Irene. Henry, what would be your suggestion to others who would like to work on community resilience? Where to start from?
I think, thank you, Irene and Samira and all the members that are on board. To me, what is captivating to me is that from experience, if the projects people want to start are geared towards resilience, building in their communities. Obviously, they must start with needs assessment of their different communities, knowing exactly what is the problem. And then having known the problem, the second thing is now, what will be the solution? Because people that have the problem will always have the solution. They may be having limitations that is technical, financial in nature, but they have at least an idea how they think the problem they have can be solved. So after identifying the problem, I think it would be now engaging with the communities where the problem is to suggest solutions that think fit the problem at hand, and then allocating can be either two ways. It may be only technical or also financial resources that should be allocated or disintegrated into handling the problem at hand. But this has to be followed up with the required manpower that can be used either with the very organizations that are going to start the resilience campaigns in their communities, or they could adopt a referral system where they can sign MOUs with the already existing organizations as strong as the one with Irene, where they have very wonderful teams of people that have the experience and not going to learning nothing, come and start earning the future team that will take on from them after a very short span, when they already have now the technical know-how and experience on how they have solved the problem from other areas. And problems are not particular to specific communities. The problem in the USA is a similar problem to what you can have in Uganda. And the solution that may solve the problem in the USA may not necessarily be the solution that solve one in Uganda. So all these are factors that have to be considered. The needs assessment of knowing the problem, then suggesting themselves the solution, and then having community members themselves take up on these initiatives that are geared up to solve the problems at hand. The community-based organizations or NGOs support with the manpower or resources in solving these problems, and bring on experts that will do an assessment or evaluation after some time, inform the activities that are on ground or grassroots activities, whether they are solving the problem or they are only aggravating the problem, such that it doesn't go further, they can change or adapt other things. This is what I'm thinking that other community-based organizations or NGOs would borrow or think about before they engage into community resilience activities in their areas.
That sounds great. And what I'm hearing you say is that coalition building between initiatives locally with other NGOs, with people globally, with other cooperation circles of URI, for example, is a great opportunity to start and to build our community resilience initiative. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish with the program that we've started at the beginning of this year, and hopefully next year we will continue. And I would like to thank both of you and Arnaud, who had to leave a bit sooner, for participating in this community call today. I am thrilled to see the chat box and people's comments and reflections on what you shared. This has been a really engaging session through the chat box, and I hope that people are sort of will be leaving today with an idea or just a spark that will hopefully grow and develop a community resilience program. So thank you to both of you. It was exciting to hear from you and to see such passion in dealing with very challenging circumstances in our communities, because I always like to remind people that no matter how beautiful the end result is and how much we hope the communities, or how much the communities are looking so much better after an activity that we do. The work that we do is hard. The work that we do is often heartbreaking. The work that we do takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears from us in order to get something accomplished. And so thank you for the beautiful end result, but also thank you for the path that you are on while trying to get the beautiful results that everyone sees at the end, but often people don't see the journey. So thank you for the results and for the journey from the bottom of our hearts. And I would like to ask all of our participants, if possible, to briefly respond to a few questions that will pop up on your screen before we go into a quick Q&A. We would like to learn about your experience of this call, because we want to know what works, what doesn't work, and how to make this experience better for all of us. So I will be launching a poll, and on your windows, there will be a small pop-up window where you would be able to answer four very brief questions. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Please go ahead and respond to these questions as honestly as possible. No one is tracking your names. We would just really like to know if this event was, what's your experience? Was this event worthwhile? Have you learned something new? And are you likely to participate in future events in the Resilience series? And as you are answering these questions, I would also like to know that we have a few minutes if there is a question or a comment that someone from our audience would like to share. Feel free to unmute yourselves and add your piece to this conversation, or type your reflection in the chat box, and we will make sure that we read it at the end. Do I have any volunteers?
Samira, can I ask you a question? On question number 1, it says, rate your experience of this community call. Is 1 the high number or the low number?
Oh, thank you for asking that. That's missing in the explanation. So 1 is I would say the lowest experience, and 5 is the best experience that you can have.
I just wanted to clear that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And then to me is all the participants that we are very hope that very soon we shall be launching maybe an ebook about our experiences, and we shall be glad that the first copies will be shared really with URI members, and we shall ensure that you have copies at your disposal.
That would be amazing. And certainly one thing that we want to invite everyone now, when we're starting to wrap up this call, is to give your contributions to a publication that we're working on right now, where we want to feature your stories from your communities and to learn more about the positive practices that help your community build resilience. And at the beginning of the call, I've shared 2 links in the chat box, and I will be able to share them again. First one is a link through which you can submit your articles and the text and together with photos that you prepare. And the second one are guidelines to give you a bit of orientation of how to build up your article and what kind of article you can actually share for this publication. And thank you all for answering the questions. I will close the poll right now. Deeply appreciate your feedback. Loving the results. And now, do we have any closing reflections from our audience? Any questions that are left in your minds as you were listening to our speakers today?
Can I say something, Samira?
Oh, 100%.
What I've being out there in the community, sometimes we have cultures within the community, or cultures within cultures in our community, and we have to recognize that. And that is a block that prevents some things from making change. Just like Henry had said, the different things that's going on out there in his community, and how the community members need to give their input, and they have the solutions. So we have to find out why if the community members have the solutions, why are there still the solutions are not being implemented. So there's different reasons why the solutions are not being implemented, but sometimes the culture prevents solutions from being implemented. For example, with the HIV rate, where everybody knows what prevents it, everybody knows how to protect themselves, but it doesn't happen within certain cultures. So there's a reason behind that. So we do need to make sure that we are recognizing the cultures when we go out there into our community, because to not recognize the cultures is to not help with the solutions. So we have to always keep that in mind and operate from that standpoint, because sometimes that could be the blocking point of change.
Thank you, Irene. I think that's a very practical sort of piece of advice for everyone, because not every solution fits every community. And maybe with a minor tweak of the solution that we're suggesting, there could be a way for that solution to actually be beneficial for the community. And then we go back to what you said at the beginning, is that no solution that is acceptable for the community is actually a good solution. So it all fits into this story of the solution needs to be tailored to the community, not one solution fits all, sort of. Mm-hmm. And we have a comment from Najiba in the chat box that says they have the solutions, they need safe space and a good facilitator to start the conversation. Absolutely. I think that every conversation needs to be contextualized. Exactly. Thank you, Najiba. Well, if in case there are no other comments, allow me just to briefly share my screen and share with you what I mentioned before, and those are submission guidelines for the publication that we look forward to receiving as many articles as possible, because we are eager to present what our CCs are doing and to share it with the rest of the network. Can you see my screen, the document? Great.
Yes.
So these are the submission guidelines that are available in the chat box that I will, or Leila, could you find them at the beginning of the chat and just repost them right now? So these are the submission guidelines. Thank you, Leila. Where we give you a brief orientation of what kind of publication this is, guiding questions that would help you write your article, and instructions of how to submit them with a few tips and tricks. And in this document, you have the link. So do you in the chat box. And I hope to receive, we hope to receive as many of these articles as possible, because we really want to share these stories with the community and use these existing stories to inspire others to build the resilience of our communities, because we need them. I often hear the people say we need them more than ever now. I think we always needed them, and I think that we will always need to build the resilience of our communities as a preventative step, and as something that we just have to do. And with this, I will thank everyone for their participation and invite my colleague Leila, if she has anything to add at the end, to do so now. Before we conclude for today.
Thank you, Samira. No, I just want to say a huge thank you, especially to our contributors who shared about experience. It was so inspiring, and I'm sure that all of us are now full of energy and ideas how we can implement some of these activities in our communities, and to extend, Samira, your invitation for all of you to join us into creating this publication, because, as I said at the beginning, the idea is to share good practices, something that you share on today's call, and to inspire our colleagues and the wider community to contribute towards more resilience when it comes both to the individual and community resilience. So I'm so thankful that all of you join us today, especially to our speakers, and thank you once again on behalf of ERA Europe as one of the co-organizers of today's series. I'm looking forward to receive your contribution to our publication, and to see you, inshallah, on our next events that will be probably happening next year. So stay tuned. We will be sharing more information about that in the coming months. So thank you again from my side, and thank you, Samira, for always being a great host.
Thank you. On behalf of UR Multi-Region and the entire URI, thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to spending more time together and together as a global network, building our resilience. We always need it. So thank you for coming. Bye.
Thank you all. Take care.
Bye-bye.